All right, well, let's get started then. Thanks for having us. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I think, I don't know exactly who's in the room, but I'm sure at least some of you know me already. I'm Jeremy Simon, and I'm just going to go ahead and forward to the next screen here so I can introduce Alex, who's also on the call here. We wanted to talk about Enable Web Central today, and this was developed by our company, 3D Universe, primarily Alex Jones, who's on the Hangout with us. He's the lead developer. And myself, I've been in charge more of the specifications and the design of the application. I'm glad Alex could join us. I want to take the opportunity to thank him for the hundreds and hundreds of hours of work he's put into Enable Web Central. I think it's been well received so far. Yeah, thank you guys.
I'll just throw this out. I'll say you're very welcome. I think that the presentation will go way more smoothly if Jeremy facilitates it, so I'm going to be on mute. But I just want to say hello to everyone. Hello, John. Haven't seen you for a while, but hope all's well with you.
Very well.
Excellent. So I'm going on mute now.
Okay. And Alex will be helping out with some of the demos a little bit later on. So we launched Enable Web Central on June 3rd of 2017 and have gone through several updates since then. The primary function of this platform is to provide a matching service between Enable volunteers and the device recipients. As many of you probably are aware, there used to be a service for matching with somebody managing that on a full-time basis. That service went away rather abruptly, and that's when we sort of rushed our development of Enable Web Central to provide a replacement for that service to the community. And I think it's working well so far. I look forward to getting feedback on where we go from here. It is a web-based application. It is designed to be mobile-friendly. So I know in some parts of the world, people like to use their phones a lot more than desktop computers. And so the application has been designed to work very well on mobile devices or in any web browser. We've incorporated Google Translate for international users. It's not ideal, and we hope in the future to be able to do some true internationalization with the help from maybe some of our other chapters and regions, but for now it was a way for us to at least provide basic translation services for people in other areas. So let's talk about the basic workflow. First of all, for device recipients. If you're somebody that wants to obtain a device using Web Central, you basically, after you sign up for an account, you would create a new device request. Now, when you first sign up for a new account, you'll be taken through a registration process, and there is an opportunity to create a new device request as part of that registration process. But you can always create a new device request after that registration as well. So first you would create a new device request saying, hey, I need a device, and you provide some details. Then you would upload your sizing photos, and this has been well documented by Peter Binkley, so we provide a link within the app to his video showing how to take proper sizing photos, and those can then be uploaded within Enable Web Central. You would then review and approve volunteer offers. So your case, after you've uploaded your sizing photos, your case becomes available for volunteers to say, yeah, I'll help out with that case. And you, as the case creator, get to review those offers and approve or decline them. And once you've approved volunteers, they can proceed with making your device. So the volunteer would first look at your sizing photos and would provide a recommendation based on the sizing photos saying, this is the kind of device I think would work best for you, and this is the size that appears to be most appropriate. And you, as the case creator, can then review and approve those recommendations, saying, yes, I agree with that, go ahead and proceed, or maybe offering a suggestion of, hey, can't we do this other device instead, or something like that. Once it's ready, you would receive and test that device, and then, of course, provide some feedback. So that's the basic workflow. I'm leaving out some steps here in the interest of time, but that's basically what somebody who wants to receive a device would do. So let's take a pause now and give you a quick demo of that process. So I have actually set up a test account. I'm going to pause the presentation here. I've set up a test account for this user, and we're now looking at the main screen. When you log into Enable Web Central, this is what you see. This is the device requests homepage. And right now I don't have any device request pending, but you see this button here saying New Request. So I'll click on that. And you would indicate the name of your recipient. I've already set up a recipient by the name of Jason, or I could add a new recipient here. I'll just leave it set to Jason. Are you working with an occupational therapist or other medical professional? I'll say not yet. Do you have your own 3D printer? Let's say I may be able to get access to one. Are you interested in learning how to make one of these? Maybe. I need more information. Are you already working with somebody in Enable? I'll say not yet. Does Enable have your permission to share photos and basic information about this recipient? So it defaults to Enable can share anonymous photos, meaning no faces, but you do have the option to say don't share anything, or yes, you can share the photos and the first name. Then you can choose what category of device the recipient needs, either a hand or an arm or partial hand or something else. So let's say I need a hand. I'll go ahead and choose that, and it gives you a list of devices based on that. So if I choose hand, it shows all the hand devices. If I choose arm, it shows the arm devices, etc. So I'll choose a hand, and I'll say I'm looking for, I like the Unlimited Phoenix and I like the Osprey just for this demo. And let's say I need a right hand, and let's say I want it in black. And then I go ahead and save changes. And I have now created my device request. It takes me to the case details screen where you can see there's multiple tabs, and we'll be taking you through this as part of the demo. But the very next thing I need to do, and it says this right here on the status tab, is I need to upload my sizing photos for volunteers to evaluate. The volunteers will not see this case until I've uploaded my sizing photos. So if I click on Upload Photos, it'll take me over to the Information tab, which is where the sizing photos go. You see in the upper right here. And I can click to add a photo, and right underneath that is the link to Peter Binkley's video showing how to do that. So I already have some photos here, so let me just go and grab those and upload those. So EWC photos, sizing photos, and I'm going to upload a couple of sizing photos here. And it says, thanks for uploading your photos. Are you ready to have an expert review your case? And if I say yes, this will then go into the cases that show up for the volunteers. I can also say no if I have other photos to upload first, but I'll go ahead and say yes. All right, so now we've uploaded our sizing photos and it's ready for expert review. So I'm going to go ahead and flip back over to the presentation now, and we'll talk about things from the volunteering perspective and then do a demo of that. So for volunteers, the basic workflow is that the volunteer can log into Enable Web Central and browse available cases, which we'll show you. You can then find a case that looks interesting, ideally one that's in your region, but you can do these remotely as well. And then you can offer to help on that case. And there's 3 default roles. There's expert, fabricator, and assembler. And then there's an other role, so you can specify a custom role if you want to do something else on the case. So the expert is responsible for reviewing the sizing photographs and determining the best type of device and what size of device is needed. The fabricator is the one who 3D prints the parts, and the assembler obviously puts it together and delivers it to the case creator. So the expert would then review the sizing photos and recommend the most appropriate device type and scale. Once they have that recommendation approved, they would go ahead and fabricate and then assemble the device. They would deliver that to the recipient, and then they'll follow up and make any adjustments as needed based upon feedback. If it needs to be made in a bit of a different size, or if the tension on the cords needs to be adjusted, whatever that might be. So let's take a look at that. Again, I'll pause the presentation here. So now Alex is going to help me out here. So Alex is now going to become the case creator for the case that I just set up, and I'm going to go ahead and use my own account over here as the volunteer. So here I'm logged in as myself. I'm going to go over to, under the volunteering menu, I'll go to Browse Cases. You get a map where you can see where all these cases are that have been created. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the list where I should find, there it is, the case that I just created for, and the preferred device types are Osprey or Unlimited Phoenix. I can go ahead and click on the button here to review that case, and it takes me to the case details. You'll notice the status now says that we're waiting for an expert, we're waiting for a fabricator, and waiting for a device assembler. I can offer to help right there from the status tab, and I'll go ahead and do that. So I'm going to make an offer to help. And I'll just go ahead and offer to perform all 3 roles, the expert, the fabricator, and the assembler, and make the offer. And it says that's been submitted. So now it's over to Alex So let's see if Alex, you're sharing your screen. So let me get over to the Hangout and flip over to your screen here. So Alex is going to go in now as that test user. And when he goes and clicks on that case there, he's going to see my pending offer. It says you've got offers waiting for approval, and he has a button that says approve volunteers. So you'll notice the common theme here that whenever you go to the case details screen, that status tab always shows you whatever has to happen next. So for him, as the case creator, it's saying you need to approve these volunteer offers, and it gives him the button to do so right there. So he's going to go ahead and click on approve volunteers, and it shows him the offers, and he can approve those, accept the offers, or decline them. I'd say let's go ahead and accept them. Okay, so now he's accepted the offers. So let's flip back to my screen here. Let me go to my home screen now as a volunteer. And I have that case that I just created, case 290. Now when I go into this case, it's going to now say the case status is waiting for expert review. So he's accepted my offer. And by the way, on the back end, we're getting emails now that indicate these changes on the cases. So we recently added email notifications. So I received an email saying that my offer had been approved. That's what this one here is. I can pull it up if you'd like to see it. So here we get an email saying, great news, EWC has accepted your offer for volunteering on case 290, and it gives me a link to go to view the case. So I'll just go back over to the case screen. So the status is now waiting for expert review. So I now need to go in here and look at the photos, which are on the information tab. So I can now download these photos. I can run them through the Blender software, which is the method that Peter Binkley has outlined for us, and determine the best size and best type of device for this particular recipient. So let's say I've done that. I've gone through that process. I'm going to go ahead and upload some additional photos showing the sizing. Now you don't have to do this, but I like to provide sizing photos showing the overlaid devices within Blender and how those fit. So there's my sizing photos showing the recommended size for the devices, the device types that were requested, the Osprey and the Phoenix in this case. And then I would go ahead and make a recommendation. So to do that, I can just click on this button here, make recommendations. And it takes me to this screen where I can choose. So in this case, they said, I'd like either an Osprey or an unlimited Phoenix. Let's just say for this case, I decided that the Osprey design is a better choice. Maybe it's an older user and we want something more robust. And let's say this was 147% scale. I think that's what I came up with in this example. Is customization needed? Let's say no. I can put notes down here at the bottom if needed, and then I can go ahead and submit this recommendation. So that goes back over to Alex.
Which role is Alex playing now?
Alex is the case owner, so he's the one that's requested the device. So Alex, if you want to just log in to Enable Web Central again under that account.
Just to clarify, Jeremy showed the creation of the case, but now we're pretending that I'm the one who created that case. He was just explaining that process.
That's right.
Got it.
Okay, so he's back on the case screen here, and he now has a review recommendations button now that those have been received. And as you can see, it presents that recommendation to him. He can accept that recommendation, or he can give feedback and request a new recommendation. But in this case, he's going to go ahead and accept it. Okay, so now that that recommendation is accepted, I, as the volunteer, am ready to go ahead and get started. So let me switch back over to my screen here. Okay, so when I go back to the case screen here, it says now waiting for device fabrication. And I can proceed with fabrication, click Add New Device to get started. So when I go to Add New Device, I can now set up the device that I'm fabricating. I can give it a name. Let's say I'm making an Osprey hand in black. I'm going to do this one in ABS, so I'll just say that here. What type of device is it? It's an Osprey. It's a right hand. It's 147% scale. It's black. I'm using ABS. When was the hand fabrication completed? I can leave that blank for now since I haven't printed it yet, and then come back later to indicate when it was finished. I have a place to put in shipping information once I send that off to the assembler if somebody else is doing the assembly. And then that device assembler has a place to put in their information about when they finish the assembly and shipping information to the recipient. and then the recipient can come in and put in when the hand was received and enter some feedback about the device here. So we'll go ahead and save this for now, and that creates that new device record. I can actually then upload device photos, so once I've finished fabricating the device, I'll go ahead and upload some just to show you. I've got a couple of device photos here, and I'll go ahead and upload those. So then as the case creator, the person that requested this device, Alex will now be able to come in and view the device details to see what I'm creating, and he'll actually be able to see these photos of the device that I created before I even send it to him. So I'll go ahead and save that record. And that's about it. So there's a lot more detail here. I'm trying to keep it brief, but as you can see, there's basically a kind of a back and forth between the volunteer and the case creator. The volunteer does something, the case creator gets an update, and in some steps needs to approve, what's happening. In other cases, they just need to sort of monitor status until they receive the device. So that's the basic workflow. Let me get back to the presentation here. So some quick stats on Enable Web Central. We have 915 user accounts currently, so it's been pretty good adoption. We're very pleased with that. We have about 211 cases that have been created so far. I guess it's 212 now with the test case we just created. 26 cases are available for volunteers. So that means the ones that actually have sizing photos uploaded and they're ready for volunteers to get involved. And then there's another 38 that have already had volunteers that are considered what we call fully staffed. So they've got all of the three basic roles filled: the expert, the fabricator, and assembler. So that means we've got some about 60 or so cases that are either being handled already or available for volunteers. And the rest of those 200 cases, some of them might be test cases that people created, or some of them might not have sizing photos yet. But those are the basic stats so far. Taking a look forward, the next feature we'll be adding, and this is actually already built, we are going to have sample device photos. So when you go to create a new device request and you get to choose what kind of a device you would like, we're actually going to provide photos of each of the different device types, because not everybody's familiar with all these different designs. So now when you see that list of devices, you'll be able to click to see a photo of each different design, so you can kind of see what each one looks like, and that'll help you to choose which type of device you might prefer. So that's actually already been built. We'll be rolling that out early next week. In the near future, we're going to be adding an available devices page. This is a place where any volunteers who have created devices that weren't for a specific recipient, maybe they just created a test device, but it's a good one and they want to make it available to somebody. You'll be able to actually post these devices and say these are available for whoever might need them. So you could say, I have a Raptor Reloaded in 130% scale, it's a right hand, it's in blue PLA, and here's some photos of it. And then anybody who needs that type and that size of device could go ahead and put in a request to say, yeah, I'd love to take that. And then you could send it off to them. So it'll be a sort of an inventory of available devices to be claimed. We're also going to be adding a case facilitation feature. So we'll have somebody that has more of an administrative role that can go in and monitor cases, watch for cases that maybe have become stalled or aren't moving forward, and they'll have the ability to reach out to any of the participants on that case, offer assistance, help to move them forward, answer any questions that come up. We're kind of handling that right now through our support channel, but we'll be incorporating that into the application itself so that volunteers can take on that case facilitator role. We'll be adding the ability to submit test devices and get approvals within Enable Web Central. So right now that's being handled through the forums. So Eric Bubar, and I think there's somebody else helping with that too, currently reviews forum posts that are submitted for people when they make a test device and they provide an approval there. We're going to add that in so that you can actually submit photos of a test device or links to a video within Enable Web Central. We'll be able to review and approve those submissions within Enable Web Central, and when it's approved, we'll be able to automatically issue the corresponding badges. So we'll be able to simplify that process so that people don't have to go to the forums and then go and claim badges and then hop over to Enable Web Central. It'll all be in one place. We'll be adding a chapters page, which will list all of the different Enable chapters. It'll have a map. It'll show, all the different chapters that are available with contact information. You'll have a form that you can fill out to request to join any one of those chapters. And then there will also be a My Chapter page for the chapter leaders, where they will be able to actually manage their chapters. So here they'll be able to review and approve those requests to join. They will be able to see all of the cases that are being handled by all of the volunteers who are part of their chapter. So they'll have kind of a centralized view of all the cases taking place within their chapter. And they'll basically be able to provide that case facilitation role that we described within the context of their chapter and their chapter's volunteers. There's also going to be a public photo gallery. So when people upload photos, especially the end user photos, so when a recipient actually receives a device and they maybe take some photos of the recipient wearing that device, they'll be able to share those photos optionally. So when they post them to Enable Web Central, we'll have a checkbox or an option to say, would you like this photo to be shared in the public gallery? And if they choose to make it available, we'll have this public photo gallery. So we'll be able to start, that gallery will have the photos and some basic details about each one, first name of the recipient, their basic geography, things like that. So we'll be able to get a nice gallery going, showing all the devices that have been sent all over the world. And we'll be doing a lot of recipient feedback collection and reporting. So this is something that the research group is actually tied into. We'll be working with them to build standardized surveys and do some data collection to get feedback about how the devices are working. And that feeds into the final item on our list here, which is charts and statistics. So we'll be building a dashboard that will show charts and graphs, pie charts, things like that, that'll show total number of devices delivered by region, by type of device. You'll be able to see how many of each different type of design have been delivered, average turnaround time, all sorts of different summaries like that. And those will be available to anyone. So it's good that we're starting to gather all this data now. We will be making that available through that dashboard as we move forward and build that out. So those are some of the items. That's not the full list, but those are some of the items that we still have on the roadmap to build. And with that, I would like to turn it over to you guys to see what questions you might have, see if you have any feedback or any other suggestions for things you'd like us to put on our list.
I just want to say it's stunning. It's just great.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Thank you, John. And it's been a ton of work, but I gotta say, Jeremy's done an awesome job of translating and understanding the community's needs and making it digestible for a developer to make sense out of. So
we salute you. All right, Jeff Bell.
Yeah, I wanted to second that first of all. I had a couple of questions going into this, and you addressed all but one of them. And so it's awesome. I love to see how y'all are really thinking. You're covering all the bases here. Really thinking about it from not just the designer side, but from the recipient side, payment side. So I think there's a lot of good there in that. But the only question I have is, this will be really good for bringing in new recipients and getting new potential recipients matched with designers. I think that there could be a benefit in people being able to go back in and log and say, hey, I provided this device to this person at this time. This is what they received. Do you have any means to do that or any plans? Because that could just help, with the permission of the recipients, right? That could help to just expand the network of families and help to connect the people who've actually received these devices and stay in touch with people who've received the devices.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you. So I think there's a couple of aspects to that. Number one, yes, we are collecting information about, I mean, everything that happens within Enable Web Central is tracked and recorded. So we are building audit trails, and you can go into any case, and there's an activity log as one of the tabs there, so you can see everything that's happened on that case. We haven't yet built, but we will build more of that type of sort of standardized reporting that you're referring to. For example, for a given user, like you said, maybe he wants to see a history of all of the different device deliveries he's done or all the different people he's made devices for. Those are the kinds of things that we can build using the data that we already have, but that has not been built yet. We also, I think another aspect of that is kind of the badging process. So we have set up Credly badges for each of the different types of designs that are available. So you can get a badge for, I've fabricated the parts for a Phoenix Unlimited hand. And then there's a separate badge for I've assembled a Phoenix Unlimited hand. And then there's another, badge for each of the other designs, each for fabrication and then for assembly. So part of the answer is that as you make different devices for different people, you'll start to collect these badges, and those are displayed within Enable Web Central. So when you can put in your Credly account to Enable Web Central, and it'll pull down all the badges that you've earned, and it'll display those on your profile page, so that when you make an offer to a new person that's requesting a device, when they go to review those offers, they can click on the name of the person making the offer, and they'll be taken to that person's profile page where they will see all those badges. So if 3 different volunteers offer to help on a case, but one of them has 20 different badges and the others don't have any, it kind of helps to educate the person that's asking for a device to say, oh, I think I'm going to go ahead and accept this particular volunteer's offer because it looks like he's got a lot of experience. So that's part of that as well. But we do look forward to adding in more robust reporting, like you said, about summaries of all the different devices that you've created and for whom. That has not been built yet.
And Jeremy, I think Jeff was suggesting that would be useful for example, the 24 cases they've done over the past few years, that cases that predate Enable Web Central, but that it could become a collecting place for past cases as well.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that's a great point. I'll talk that over with Alex. We'll have to figure out the best way to do that. I mean, one option is that you can actually create cases in Enable Web Central for those historical ones that were already done, and you can basically just create the case and upload your photos of the device that was created, and then simply march through the case as if it was happening in real time, fill out the information, and then close the case as already being delivered, and it'll then kind of be injected into your history there. But I'm not sure that's ideal. I understand what you're looking for. Maybe we can provide a separate way to just log those cases or upload a spreadsheet or something like that. So let me talk that over with Alex.
I'll just interject on that really quickly. I think you're thinking along the right track, Jeremy. We would probably make a simplified interface just for adding historical cases.
Great.
Jeremy, I have another question. So along the lines of your badges, it might be nice when I was going through a case, just a little more information about in the profiles of both the recipients and all the different types, whether you're a recipient or a maker or a fabricator. It just seemed there was just one name. Like, who is that? What do they do? And even if it was just a name and a bunch of badges, it might even be nice to have a short description, right? Oh, well, this is the such and such chapter associated with University so-and-so, and we get together on Tuesday nights, and yada, yada, yada. It's just a nice little description would help on all sides, just to know, when you click on that, who is this person? A little bit more. And you can blow that up as much as you want, but at least a little bit of a description.
I think that's a great idea, and the nice thing is that's really easy for us to do. So I will add that to our list. We'll add a description panel for anyone who has an Enable Web Central account, like you said, whether they're a recipient or a volunteer, and that'll appear on the profile page. So that can be a description of the work you've done in the past for Enable, or like you said, a chapter that you're part of or anything like that. So yeah, I think that's a great idea, and that's real easy to add, so we can do that.
Another different suggestion is I have yet to sit in on one of Melvin's video interviews, right? Melvin Cruz. But I think it's a great idea, and I haven't seen one yet. But whatever it is, I know it's awesome. And I didn't see sort of a place for that in your process, right? So if you're familiar with how the types of interviews that Melvin does online, even LFR, it would be, there's nowhere to really interject that in your system, right? And I have to do a message. I think what your system is messaging. I have to message you, go, hey, here's my email, here's my phone number, call me, let's set up a phone interview, because it's somewhere early on in the process, it's just nice to get on the phone sometime and say, talk through with the person. But fit in your flow, but something like that.
Okay, yeah, so first of all, we will be enhancing the messaging capabilities within Enable Web Central. Right now, it's just a message board that's shared with all the case participants. We will be adding the ability for people to send direct messages to a specific volunteer or the case creator, so you'll be able to do more targeted messaging. I'm not actually familiar with the interviewing that Melvin does. I'm going to have to get educated on that. But it sounds like the kind of thing that we could incorporate somehow, at least a prompt for it, or I'm just thinking out loud here. We do already have the ability for you to upload, where you upload photos on the case, like your sizing photos. You can also upload links to YouTube videos. So I guess if that interview was something that you wanted to have recorded, you could actually post that video to the case if you chose to. But I'll have to learn more about that process and how he does that, and maybe we can figure out a way to incorporate that, at least as a suggestion, within Enable Web Central and facilitate that.
Well, I need to make sure to second what John said. It's a really wonderful resource. It's just tremendous, and I'm just ecstatic that we have Web Central now. It's filling a role. It's just doing such a good job of filling a role. I've already worked on a couple of cases through the service, and it's just spectacular.
Thanks so much,
I got a query recently from Buffalo. That's the first time in 4 years that I've actually gotten that kind of a query. So the system worked for me too.
Wonderful. It's great to hear those kinds of feedback. And let me just take the opportunity to stress that the feedback, like what we're getting here right now, is extremely important to us. Alex and I do sometimes operate in somewhat of a vacuum, so it's really great to hear what's working, what's not working, what it would be beneficial to add. So even if you come up with an idea after we wrap the session up today, please email us. We're always available, and I'll provide that contact information at the end here. But we're always available through our support email, which it's also listed on the Enable Web Central site, and our phone number's there as well.
Jeremy, are there things that, it's astounding how much you and excuse me, Alex are doing. I'm wondering if there are activities, like, for example, reviewing cases that aren't being claimed or something, which would be a role for other people in Enable to take on. Are there other sort of maintenance activities that would enhance what you're doing as you're building?
I think so, but I think it's still on us to build a little bit more of that functionality to make that easier. Right now, such a person would have to be, sort of tying directly into the back-end database and doing things that aren't, too user-friendly. So we need to build that case facilitator functionality, which is coming up soon on our list. Once we've built that, we will absolutely need help from the volunteer community for people that want to, help with the administrative side of things, helping to watch for cases that have stalled, or people that have questions and don't know how to move forward, or just need a little bit of a, guidance on how to move through the process. There will absolutely be the opportunity for people that can help us with that. So we just need to build that functionality into the app first, and we should be able to do that in the near term.
Hey, Jeremy, if I can give you a recommendation. So to introduce myself a little bit, we've never met in person. So my name's Jeff Powell, and I've been doing this for about 3.5 years in working with just ever expanding group and ever expanding number of like, recipients and families. We're really like recipient family focused, but we're trying to do more now to be more involved in the social community volunteer side. We've just been stretched thin in the past, but that's beside my point. If I could recommend something, I'm not saying this is correct or this was even easy to do and install, but it may be good to say up front for both sides, like, hey, this is at the worst case scenario, this would be the minimum expected amount of time that can go by without there being communication. And then you being a programmer, it may be easy to just pop in code that says, hey, if this page hasn't been updated in this amount of time, flag it. And so that makes the facilitator's role easy to know that, okay, this is who we need to look into. And then it's also like if a rule, I mean, it's hard to come up with the rule, right? And it's never going to be perfect, but if something is agreed upon up front, and it's very easy to say like, oh, this is, this is a situation that has gone on too long. Because otherwise it's kind of like, well, who's the judge? Like, what's too long of no communication? What deems a case a stalled case?
Yeah, that's a great point. That's actually exactly what we have planned. Basically, our cases move through a series of states. So there's different steps, like kind of what we demoed, where you create the case, then you have to upload your sizing photos, then you have to wait for your volunteer offers, then the volunteer has to make a recommendation, which has to be approved, then the device has to be fabricated, etc. So each one of those states is going to have a sort of an expected maximum duration that we'll put in. And at each one of those steps, if it extends longer than that and doesn't move to the next step, it'll pop up on the case facilitator's dashboard saying, hey, this one might need some attention. Likewise, on the chapters page where the chapter leaders work, you'll be able to see those cases within your chapter that have stalled. So it'll help you to manage those cases that might need some attention.
Jeremy, is it possible that Web Central could be used for task-specific tools? Where I get emails from people who just want something that they can attach to their hand that isn't a hand, so they can play a musical instrument or something like that. Can it be used so that, say, a little girl who wants to hold the guitar pick doesn't open, she has all of her fingers and it doesn't open. Could she have her parents upload photos and it be a non-hand whatsoever, or something to open a drawer, or somebody needs something to help them with a zipper jacket? We have the design challenge where we have over 200 designs of things that people made for people who have their fingers but can't use them. Can we use Web Central for that too?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now when you go in and create a case, a device request, it asks you what kind of device you're looking for, and there's a list of all the standard enabled designs, but there's also an other option. So you can just say other, and then you can put in your own custom description of what you're looking for. Likewise, when the volunteer makes a recommendation, if one of the standard designs isn't a good fit, then they also have the option to recommend an other device, and they can say, I think you need this custom device XYZ, and they can put in a description, and then they can produce it. So yeah, Enable Web Central can certainly be used for that. So the list of standard designs that are in there now are just based on, it's pretty much the same list of what's on your website on enablingthefuture.org. We can always modify that list. So if certain designs kind of float up to the top where they become more commonly used, we can very easily add to that list of standard designs, but there will always be that other option for things that aren't listed there, and you can always choose that.
On that same thread, it occurs to me that the Enable volunteers understand what Web Central is for and how to use it and so on. But the recipients are often going to be newbies who actually are just confronted with this wall of questions. If they get there by way of, for example, enabling the future, hopefully they'll sort of have had an introduction before they go down this white corridor. But it's worth thinking about what's the way to make this a little bit more natural habitat for recipients as well as enable veterans. Along those lines, you could put a link at the other field, a link to, for example, you might want to browse our gallery of other assistive devices. Give them a link right there, which would open in a new window. And that would help them understand that they're really being invited to recruit help for non-standard cases within some scope as well.
Great idea. I like that. Yeah, like I said, we just finished incorporating sample photos of the standard designs, so it would be really easy to add, like you said, a link to one of the pages, maybe on Enabling the Future or something like that, that shows these alternative designs as well.
Right now, all of the designs from that challenge are on Pinshape. So,
Okay. That's fine. We can link to it wherever it is.
I think it would be easier if we had our own library of them. So it's a really fun sort of hashtag. It was used for a contest.
Okay.
Any other questions for Jeremy and Alex? So, gentlemen, thanks and congratulations again. For God's sakes, don't hang up. I'm wondering whether you would be in a position to continue your role now as videographer and add the next speaker to this conference so that we can hear Ed Choi's presentation from Sierra Leone and so that you can continue to record it.
Okay, I can do that. Let's see, is that, like, are we talking, what is this, an hour-long presentation or so?
I think Ed's supposed to go for about 30 minutes or so,
Okay.
according to the schedule.
Yeah, I think I can just keep recording and then I can carve things up later. John, how do you want to do this? Do you want to use the same Hangout or do we need to switch to something else? And I think we can, Alex.
I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay. And I think, Alex, we can probably let you go. I don't need you to hang out for that necessarily. But again, Alex, thanks so much for all the work you've done on this.
Yep, likewise, and it really makes me happy. I got to tell you, and I mean it sincerely, when someone says, hey, whatever you made, it works for us and it makes sense to us. That's the best kind of feedback because, you know, it lets us know we're kind of on the right track. And we also appreciate all of the feedback as well and the ideas that you give. So by all means, just be open with us and let us know what it is that you think would make it better.
And I've got the support email, the 800 number up on the screen right now. So feel free to reach out to us anytime if you have other ideas. We'll be happy to add them to our list.